caindo.
Okay, and then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the 28 through the bottom of the shock, a spacer. These are actually going to go into the bottom. Now, kind of going back, one of the things I had mentioned before is I was a little bit concerned about the binds, but as you can see right there, that's actually what that block is for, is to prevent it from going too far in and actually causing a bind which would cause you to either break this or break a drive line or any other number of things inside. So it's a good little thought right there. I mean, they've actually gone through it and thought all these little pieces out. So good job, CrossRC. All right. So that's done. We're good to go there. We're going to go ahead and set him off to the side. We're going to go ahead and knock out the rear axle. Once we get this one done, we'll go ahead and move on to the next steps in the book. Oh, she fell over. We were, let's see here, we were actually right here. This is where we picked up from. Step number 12, page 13. Everything's been fairly simple up until now. But now we're going to start having some fun because, as you can see, all of these parts right here that have numbers, none of the bags do. You know, they come in a large bag that has a bag number or a bag letter, like that one is bag E. However, then it is filled with lots of various bags with different things in them. One of the funnest ones, I believe, is this one right here. You'll see it's got all kinds of varying different lengths of screws. So as far as the manual and whatnot goes, it leaves a little bit to be desired, but all in all, so far the kit's been going together very well. Just a little side note, I did get out and pick up a couple of passengers here. We got a driver and a passenger, or maybe it'll be a driver and a passenger. We'll see them, might box it out or something, I don't know. Okay, anyways. Let's see, one of the other things we picked up a Spectrum servo. This is going to be our steering servo for the truck. The shift servo, I'm not really too concerned about. Really anything can be a shift servo. A couple other parts that are going to be going on in these steps are going to be the fuel tanks. Now you'll notice I did go ahead already and paint and assemble these. Essentially it's just the two halves that glue together, and then your filler tube glues right on. Got them all painted up. We got driver side and passenger side fuel tanks. Those are good to go. Let's dig into this thing. Oh, one of the other things that we went ahead and did in between videos is we installed the drive shafts. Or maybe I did that in the last video. I actually don't remember. But there they are. You get on nice and tight here. No play, no slop. They feel good. Alright, so next up we're going to be running the rails, and we're going to be going ahead and putting on all of our leaf supports, all the turn, and we actually have already found that bag, so the bag is ready to go. We're going to go ahead and measure out a few screws, make sure we got the right ones, and start getting this together. One of the other pieces that you'll note as you do start putting this together are these right here. You'll see part number 41123. It's kind of interesting the way that they do that, because they actually almost give it this little tab in the drawing, which I found kind of interesting. Of course, these ones over here don't. But I looked all the way through the front of this book. There is no 41123 part number in the front of the book. So we had to kind of just dig through everything until we found something that resembled it. And it is in this bag here with the with this little steering part, a few of the other things in there. Yeah. So a little bit of a mess when it comes down to how all the parts are put together, but workable. Workable. We'll figure it out. All right. So let's get these guys out of the way. Let's get our rails ready. And again, like always, we're just going to go ahead and kind of lay things out like the picture. So you can see in the picture here, we got the little notch out right there. You can kind of look at your whole line out. They do a real good job of matching up the parts in the book to what we're actually looking at on the table. Alright, got those parts right there. This is going to go on the inside. We got 2 in the rear, 2 for the very front. Same thing with these parts. We'll have 2 of those in the rear, 2 of those in the front, and 4 of those for the rear, and 4 for the front. Now the 41123 is going to be that little guy. Or at least I sure hope so, because if it goes somewhere else then we're kind of screwed, because those are the only ones that I can find in any of these bags that resemble the part that they're supposed to be looking like. So I guess we'll see how that works out. Alright, next up with that, we're going to see that we're going to need the M3. We're going to need 12 of those, an M3 10mm, we're going to need 8 of those, and an M3 18mm, we're going to use 4 of those. Oh, and one of the other things that we went ahead and did while working on other things was we went ahead and did the tail lights. Now, one of the things that you'll want to do is before you start your kit, get yourself some transparent orange, some transparent red for your tail lights. That way you can get these guys painted up. Now the LEDs themselves are colored, but when you get around to using these, if you get them in there right, you get them painted, they look really good. It adds to that scale look, which for this truck, you really want to do that, because there's so much detail on this thing when you get to finishing it up that you don't want to miss stuff like that. Okay, so we found all the nuts. They're going to be in this baggie. There's just going to be a whole bunch. They're all the same. These are all M3. So these are all the 12203 nut. Going to be in that one right there. And the other bag that I just emptied out, unlabeled, but it actually had all the M3 screws in it. The other bag is going to have various other sizes, but the bag that we just pulled out had all the correct sizes for what we're doing right now. It has your M3 10mm and your M3 18mm. I guess it would help to put the proper parts in the proper places. Now with these, obviously, don't worry about Loctiting these up, because they actually have, these are lock nuts on them. Got that one mounted on. That is going to be the front shackle. Okay, now for on the front, the hole that you're going to be looking at, you're going to go from those front right there. You're going to see those 3 right there. The big one right behind it is where you're going to go ahead and put that rear shackle in. And this is using the 18mm. We're not going to tighten it real tight. We're going to go ahead and leave it loose like that until we actually get to the point of what we're doing. Now, one of the things, and somebody who's watching, if you were looking really close, you might have caught that I already messed up, but you'll see you've got a big hole and a small hole. So I'm going to go ahead and flip those around here real quick. I'm going to change out the battery and I'll be right back. Okay, so while the battery was charging up, yeah, I know it's not plugged in, its battery is old, but yeah, you know, whatever. I went ahead and I got a few of the other parts going ahead and put on because we already know kind of what we're looking at on these. So the main thing is, you know, make sure that those are loose for front and rear, and actually the instruction manual will even tell you, make sure they're able to swing. And that right there, friends, takes care of step number 14. So we're on page 14, we're done with step 14. We are now going to be moving on to page 15, which it looks like they've actually done some type of an addendum, because this is actually a piece, it's like a sticker stuck into the book revising the assembly of this particular piece. So looks like what we're going to do first is we're going to put together the shift arm, which has the springs and everything else on that. We'll then go ahead and move on to installing it onto the transmission. From there, we're going to go ahead and install the shift servo, and then we're going to mount the shift servo, and then from there we will go ahead and move on to the last step, which is the steering servo. Get it all slapped together, drop the transmission in, and we will actually have the rails and everything good to go. Alright, so in step number 1, we're going to take this little short guy right here. In the book, it is number 41146. And the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're actually just going to go ahead, hold it in our grips. We're going to go ahead and grab one of these guys right here, which is out of the 202 plastic tree. It's going to be 20203. It's going to be one of the longer ends right there. We're going to go ahead and get this guy installed. And this is going to go on the short end of the threads. Alright, once that's there, let's go ahead and pop that piece in, so that way we're good there. Next up, go ahead and drop a spring. Okay, we're then going to go ahead and put this piece on right here, this little brass piece. These are like the springs out of a pen. This is actually exactly what they look like. Okay, we're then going to go ahead and put the other spring on. Make sure you don't let go of it, otherwise it will go flying. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put that on, and that way that gives that little bit of play, like that. And it's also going to be adjustable. Get everything lined up the way it's lined up in the book. Alright, next step, this is going to be the 41145, another little brass piece right here, which is actually going to slide up into that. And then it is going to be our 14 millimeter. I love keeping one of these guys around just to help, because I'm always not the best at trying to figure out exactly what the lengths are just by eye, but I can tell right there, yes, that is my 14 millimeter. We'll slide that up through the bottom. And then of course we're going to attach our servo horn onto that, which we're going to go ahead and have to drill that out a little. Okay, and once we get all those on there, kind of get things adjusted to where we want it to sit. We're going to go ahead and get the servo horn on there. Like so. So, we got that all set up on there and happy. And she looks just like the picture. That's what you're always aiming for, right? Get it to look like the picture. Okay, that part's done. That's number 1. Number 2, we're going to go ahead and get that put on to the motor. And you can see right here, here's our shifting lever. And this is going to call for the 18 millimeter. So again, just double check and make sure we got the right one. There she is. So the 18 millimeter, I'm going to drop through the brass bushing, like so. That is going to sit right into that shifting servo, or not servo, but into the shifting arm there. And then we're going to go ahead, slide that guy right up in there, and install one more M3 nut. Alright, and now you can see we've got that on, so that way the shifting servo will drive that. Everything's got the play that it needs, so we're good there. That is step number 2. Step number 3, we're going to have to grab this guy out of the bag, and this guy right here is actually going to be what mounts the shifting servo. For the shifting servo, we're just going to throw on one of my old high-tech 645 MGs. That should be more than plenty to operate the shifting mechanism. We can see basically it's going to be like this. Horn on that side. She's going to sit just like that. We're going to go ahead and use 10 millimeters M310s along with some washers, and then the M3 nuts on the opposite side. Alright, and there you go. We went ahead and got all the screws in there. We got it set up. That one's ready to go in. So at this point we're going to go ahead and move on to step 4, which is getting it screwed in and mounted up with the servo there. And essentially we're just going to want to go ahead and put it together like this, so that the holes are on the outside. Servo horn is up towards the front. End up going in just like that. Now at this point I haven't centered up the servo. It's usually something that I recommend doing, before you put everything together. Keep your ESC on the side, keep a receiver and a transmitter, plug everything in, get everything centered up, and that way you really don't have to mess with it a whole lot once you kind of get going, and it's much easier to get all your final adjustments once you're all set. But there we go. So that's going to sit right up on the rail like so. We've got that, and that is going to operate our shift servo. And last but not least, for step number 15, is we want to go ahead and get the steering servo set up. Now again, this is going to be using the 10 millimeters along with a washer and along with a M3 nut. Again, I usually don't tighten those all the way down, just so I can make some final adjustments, get them all centered up, and they're just like I want. Alright, how's she look? Looks pretty good right there. Nice and even. Alright, steering servo is mounted on its plate, and we're good to go there. So next we're going to go ahead and get all this stuff, get this and the engine, transmission mounted up to the rails. Now the way that it looks like this actually goes in, this is going to mount from the bottom side like that, and these are actually threaded already. So it doesn't really call for it, but I'm kind of one of those people that likes to use just a little bit of Loctite. It's I use the medium, so it's not like it's in there permanently and forever. But I don't want anything to come out. I don't want anything to come loose while I'm out on the trail. There's nothing worse than well, okay, there is, but it sucks when something breaks on the trail let alone it sucks when you lose something on the trail. It's never fun. Now, as far as the amount of Loctite that I'm using, I use very, very little. I go very sparingly on it. I don't want to end up having something so stinking tight that I end up stripping screws, stripping out the heads, or whatever else might happen, and all of a sudden I can't get things apart. Look at that, she's really starting to take shape. We got our rails, got those, got our servo on. She's looking pretty good so far, if I do say so myself. Alright, next up, we're going to go ahead and get this motor mounted in. Now, one of the things that you'll see in the manual, or you'll also see on this plate, you've got one screw hole here, you've got two over here. Now you're going to use an 8mm here, or you're going to use the M38 here, you're going to use an M38 there, but then you're also going to use a 4 right here. Reason being is that you've got the mount for the transmission right down below it. So you want to be sure you get that right. We got those guys all mounted up there. Next up, we're going to use a couple more M38s. We're going to run those right through the side rail and get this thing mounted up. Look at that, she's really starting to take shape. We got our rails, got those, got our servo on. She's looking pretty good so far, if I do say so myself. Now, one of the things that you'll see in the manual, or you'll also see on this plate, you've got one screw hole here, you've got two over here. Now you're going to use an 8mm here, or you're going to use the M38 here, you're going to use an M38 there, but then you're also going to use a 4 right here. Reason being is that you've got the mount for the transmission right down below it. So you want to be sure you get that right. Alright, there we go. We got our rails set up. All the mounts in there. She's looking pretty good. She's starting to take shape. Coming together. So, that finishes off step number 15 of the manual. Step 15 on page 15. I think we're going to go ahead and call it that. Next video, we're going to go ahead and start moving into all the other pieces. We'll start getting the taillights in, start getting those pieces put together, mounting up the fuel tanks like I was showing you. We already got painted, and at that point, getting ready to drop on the axles, the steering linkage, and getting the shocks all mounted up. And shoot, at that point we'll be about ready to throw on the tires, get the battery, or not the battery box, but the controller box in there. We can put all the brains, and then we get to start the fun, arduous task of putting together the bed. That one should be a whole lots of fun. So until next time, have fun building. Get yourself some new projects, and we'll see you real soon. Take care.